Good morning. I'm going to start with a piece of wisdom that was shared with me by Brian Berry, who at one time was working with the DVIRC in a marketing advisory role. And this is his business card. And on the back of his business card is this little story. And the question is, why plan? This comes from Lewis and Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here? Asked Alice. That depends a good deal on where you want to get, said the cat. I'm not really too sure of my destination, replied Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the cat. So, of course, the message there is that if you don't choose a path, then perhaps it'll be chosen for you. So today I hope to accomplish three things. One is tell you a little bit about Schramm. Two is to share some thoughts on strategic thinking, strategic planning. And the third is to make the case for the marketing physics of working with the DVIRC, to establish the reason to believe, the overt benefit, and the dramatic difference that they can make in helping you or any one of us manage our businesses. So, first, just a few comments on Schramm. Established in 1800, originally started as a manufacturer of portable air, and from that strategy of utilizing compressed air in whatever application or market that was appropriate, they eventually in the 1950s, I believe, developed top-head hydraulic rotary drills. And today, after some 60 years in that business, we supply land-based drilling equipment to the mining markets, the energy, oil and gas, water, and geothermal markets. And the geothermal being either deep geothermal, as you would see in Iceland, or in some of the western U.S. states, or more predominantly ground source or geothermal heat pumps, which there's a fast-growing industry in that market for space conditioning. And I'll just give you one quick example of that. Westchester University is on their third phase of geothermal HVAC for dormitories and buildings, et cetera, eventually to replace their steam plant. And they drill a series of boreholes, install loops in the ground, and use the earth as a heat exchanger. Very efficient, smaller carbon footprint because all you're doing is the electricity to turn a pump. And in fact, a great land use tool, because what they did in the field across from the dormitories, there's tennis courts there. They took the tennis courts up, installed the loop field, and then put the tennis courts back on top of it. So it's a really neat technology that actually works. The economics of it work. And so I challenge you to go find out more about geothermal heat pumps. Now that was an advertisement. We design, manufacture basically capital goods heavy equipment. And they're electric, hydraulic, mechanical, pneumatic, and now today include PLC, CAN bus controls, and remote communication capabilities. And some of that latter is not across the product line, because I can assure you at 5,000 meters in the Andes, the last thing these guys want to hear about is your CAN bus control and your PLC, because they don't have people that can work on it. So it's a mix of product, from simple straight hydraulic all the way up to drills that we can access on the internet to find out what production rate they're at, if they're in fact running at all, and what their penetration rates are, critical data to basically putting a hole in the ground. Currently, about 75% of our business is international. It's export. And that ebbs and flows. When I joined the company in 2000, it was probably 15%. And the dynamics of that have more to do with the currency than they do with the brilliant strategies of Schramm Inc. And in fact, if you look at it historically, when the dollar's weak, the exports are up, and when the dollar's strong, they're down. So part of it is that, and the other part, of course, is developing strategies to attack particular markets where you can compete, notwithstanding currency fluctuation. Our equipment's in 80-some countries. We're not there. We're really, the only facility we own is in Westchester. But we have partners around the world, either full distributorships or agents or somewhere in between. The real key to our business is once the product's sold is to support it in the aftermarket, because it's put to work in conditions that are brutal. They're pounding the ground basically, and in very remote locations often. So having the infrastructure to support the equipment is as important as the equipment. We have rigs. We have 30-some rigs in China at this point. They like them so much they copied them, and that wasn't a surprise. But what was a surprise was how quickly they copied it, and the fact that they did it with the highest levels of government putting the stamp on it. All they do in Beijing is they say, put the chops on it, and then you take it back to your provincial government, and you find a university and a manufacturer to collaborate with you, and they copy the rig. Now, someday that rig will work, but hopefully not before I come up with another better idea as to how to circumvent them. And the fact is, the Chinese don't want the rig. They want our rig, which is good, so far. This is a shot of a rig in Queensland, in Australia, drilling what they call coal seam gas, which is essentially coal bed methane. Barry mentioned earlier innovation. This product here, if I get this button right, you'll see this structure here is actually the mast, and that's what supports the steel that is rotating down into the borehole. The feature of this product, which we developed in 2004 approximately, is that it actually is moving up and down the entire time that you're drilling. And the reason to do that is that in that business, the oil and gas producers run what's called range 3 casing. And that casing is basically steel tubing that's inserted into the borehole to keep the borehole open. Range 3 is, it's long, it comes in random lengths, and range 3 is, I think, up to 46 foot. So you have to have this stroke capability, from the table to the top of the mast in order to handle this casing. And when you do that, this structure becomes, very long, so that when in transport, you've got an overhang on the front of a truck that's out 15 feet. We came up with the idea of having it collapse in transportation and then to extend and retract during the drilling operation. And this is a machine that sells for about $2 million. The other Telemass products it's a range of $1 million to $2 million per unit, and we've sold about 150 of these in that 6-year period. So it's been a really nice product, and it's an example of getting lucky, introducing a product at the right time, but also having an idea that appealed to the marketplace and it made sense. This actually is a rig running in Chile, and Chile's the #1 copper producer in the world. And that is the rig that is currently drilling that, if you will, escape borehole for the miners.